you guys can hear me, because that would be real lame if you couldn't. Let's see. Alright, once I can confirm that you guys can hear me. Warning, there's a warning going on. What does that mean? Stream's bitrate is lower. Well, that's probably fine. Alright, things working. You can see my hand. Make sure this is still. You can see my hand, yep. Alright. How did you guys know I was streaming so quick? Like I think I just. Okay, you can hear. Sweet. Did it give you a notification somewhere that I was streaming? Because that's cool if it did. But I don't know. But either way, we've got another head tracker to make, and I said I'm making them on stream, so I'm going to keep following through with that. We got our board here already pre-configured, as well as the parts, as well as parts up there, and I wrote it down this time so I know all the steps. I'll probably publish this to some Google Drive that you can download from, because it's nice having just the exact list as well as the exact wire distances. Oh, you have notifications turned on. Thank you, appreciate it. So we got the power wire length and the gauges, and as well as the board output. So I made everything as streamlined as I can, because I want to make these quickly, but also with the same high quality that I've made for all of them so far, and I figured this is the best way to do it. So let's go into the quick zoom in here, and we're going to start off by, let's see what my list says. Move structure, desolder wires from the female trainer port. So that's this. So I also could have done all of this prep off camera, but that's the point of streaming, is I don't do it off camera. So we're going to start here. We're going to just get right into it. This is a great stream. If you have any questions or comments or want me to talk about planes or stuff, because I've already done this a few times, so just fire away if you have questions or anything. And if at any point the stream starts looking weird or looking bad, let me know, because I always want to have the best experience for you guys. Let's see, make sure that my microphone is close enough. But yeah, I'm just taking the wires off. Go. So the past couple streams of building this exact head tracker has taken about 2 hours. My goal is to get it done in about an hour if possible, because that would be nice. But this is the last head tracker I've got to make, at least for the orders. So I do have more plans to do more streams of different things, because I've got more projects to work on that require a little bit of tinkering, and I think that's kind of fun to do on stream, because then you guys can see the tinkering process as well, because that rarely goes perfectly smooth, and it's kind of fun just to see the struggles along the way. I've also got this, I'll switch back here, this fume extractor, which I'm going to use while I'm soldering, just because I don't want to breathe in all this bad stuff. But so it's going to be loud for a second, and then it's going to be quiet. So if it's super annoying, just give it a second. But it should be out of the camera, but it will help me, breathe. So that's why we're going to do it. Let's see, soldering iron is good. So this is going to be loud for a second, then it's going to be unnoticeable. So sorry if that blasted out your eardrums, but should be over. But the first step is removing the solder from these pads. So I'm going to get my tweezers. And I'm going to clip this in like this. And again, fire away if you have questions or comments or whatever you want. I'm happy to talk about whatever's the topic of choice for the day. Alright, that's gone. Sweet, so that's probably gonna be hot. Extra wires. I'm slowly accumulating all these wires. But next is, let's see, trim the ground tab. The ground tab is this bottom part. So I'm going to just launch this into orbit. Maybe I'll cut it a little shorter this time. Safety squints. Yeah, I hit something, but not me, so happy about that. Let's see, trim ground tab and FEMA port. Tin prep. Okay, so this is that, and now I've got these little cases of wire, and it looks like I wrote down 1.5 inches. I think I really only need 1 inch, so that should be about this much. You know what, I wrote 1.5 inches, we'll do 1.5 inches, and maybe we'll fix later. But 1.5 inches of black, or red and black, same length. This is both for the power wire. But we can make these exactly the same-ish. And then put that back over here. And we're going to strip them and prep them for soldering. Let's see, these are 18 gauge, 22 gauge? I don't know, pick one. We'll go big and work our way down. Too big. Too big, too big, just right. Okay. Got both sides, same here. Good. So then we're going to tin and prep them. So I'm going to get this back down here, and here, and here. You can see the fume extractor working because it is very nice. Now when I'm not streaming and I'm just tinkering around, I can crank this fume extractor up to all the way to the top. Then it really gets rid of the fumes, but I have it in its lowest setting just so it's not loud. Let's see, it looks like there's some fraying of these top wires, which I just want to make sure they're all down and not going to cause issues. Okay, that's those wires. Next step is solder red to middle and black to the edge. So I'll get these back in here. So I'll do black first because black's on the bottom, which means we'll have to get it a little bit out of the way. I am going to add a little bit more tin to both of these pads just to get the wires to flow a little bit better. Fume extractor a little bit lower. I wonder if I can just go in from this side, if that'll work. Give a little backdrop. Let's also move this over so we're centered. Okay, that should be fine. And then I'm going to just grab these wires. It's still able to see, yes, good. Although now, I'm going to be soldering. Give a little angle here. Alright, black is installed. Red should be just as easy. There we go. Give that a second to simmer so it's not just super hot when I touch it. And just to do a quick check, no cold joints, everything's looking just fine. So I'm going to add a little bit of heat shrink, which I have right here. That fume extractor looks like it. Yeah, it is a tiny vacuum pretty much. Let's see if this is a better view. So it's just got a hose on the end, and it's got a HEPA filter in here. And so it vacuums everything through it, and then it filters it and then extracts, or then sends the air that way. But it filters it to get all of the fume out of there. But in essence, yeah, it's just a little vacuum, which I think is really cool. Especially since normally all of the fumes go right up at me and I've got to blow out when I'm soldering. And I don't think that's great, just because then when I inhale, it just sucks in all of the stuff I was trying to blow out. So having this little fume extractor is really nice. And it was pretty cheap too. It was on Amazon for not too much. Let's see, I don't want to cut too much, but I am going to heat shrink this. Get that down and get this down. There we go. That's pretty cool. Yeah. It's back to here. Okay, so I got our heat shrink on, and I'm going to use the heat gun. It's going to be a little noisy for about 30 seconds. That's that part done. According to the list, heat shrink the power wires, screw the port. Okay, so I'm going to take this here and that over here. And next, we're going to have to screw this in. It is a little hot, but it should be fine because I'm going to be using a tool, not just my hands. So screwing this in like this. I did pre-file the outside, so it should go in there pretty easily. And I'm saying that with a lot of hope that it just screws in easily, because I did already widen the hole a little bit. See with that black wire. Oh yeah, black wire's on the bottom. Now this is all the way screwed in, which is good. Just to make sure all the wires are still out of the way. As you can see here, see it's in focus. Everything is still out of the way. It's looking really good. So that's that done. Let's see. Kick the camera a little bit. Heat shrink power wires. Screw in the port. Tin and prep. Okay, so that is the next step. Instead of using 22 gauge wire, I got 30 gauge wire, because the last one I built was a little bit, the wires were just a little bit too big. So I bought smaller wires. I did the research. I made sure that these tinier wires can still handle the load, and since it is just transferring signal, it should be just fine. I made the power wires still the big 22 gauge wire, but the signal wires are all this 30 gauge wire, just to save some space but not lose any performance. Here, these are 1.5 inches. And I can't use the stripper. I'm not in any rush, but do you know when the head tracking part of order... so I'm waiting on order 1002. There are servos that come with the head tracker part. I'm waiting for those to come in. For whatever reason, they've been just taking longer. But after they come in, it should be like the day that they come in, I'll send everything else out. Because I built that head tracker and all the parts. It's all ready to go. It's just... the servos that come with it are just taking longer. So I apologize. They are taking a little longer than what I would have liked. But hopefully they should be really soon after those servos come in. And again, everything is tested here. So hopefully it's just plug and play into your receiver once they do come in. I did also bulk order those servos, so in the future when other people order, they won't have to wait. Don't even worry. I appreciate the don't worry about it. I am still trying to be a good customer service, person and get them out as fast as I can. But I do appreciate the patience with this. Okay, so I need to still prep these. So let's get a little bit of this. Get this back down. But yeah, I make all these head trackers to order because the colors could be different, and I don't want to make like a purple one if no one's ever going to buy a purple one. But I am trying to bulk order the things that aren't directly made, just so that I'm not waiting on them like I am right now. Okay, tinned and prepped. Make sure that's. Let's see then. So they're black to the bottom. Okay, so it's here. So that's going to be like this. And I did send out, or I let the person who ordered this order, I emailed them saying, hey, we're streaming it, because I think that's kind of cool. So hopefully they join at some point just so they can see the whole build process. But yeah, we'll keep charging along. We're going to tin and prep these audio jacks. Okay, and so it says black to the bottom pin. Should be here. And red to the side pin, which I'm just going to rotate to make it easier. Oh, also on Discord, I posted yesterday that the 3D printed parts for that gun turret are up and available on Thingiverse if you have a 3D printer. That is a little sneak peek about the video that's coming out next Sunday, which is just going to be a full build and how to do it yourself and like transmitter and all set up, which is cool because when I initially made those gimbals and stuff, it wasn't for a gun turret, but you guys on Discord were like, hey, that'd be really cool, and I completely agree. So if you want to buy a If you want to buy a gun turret, you can do that on our shop, which will be up at some point before Sunday. Or if you want to download the parts yourself and print them out and do whatever you want, that's up on our Thingiverse right now. But yeah, thanks for the ideas, because those gimbals and that whole system was for something else, but turns out you guys have got great ideas. So let's see, I've got a little more heat shrink that I've got to add on here, just to protect this. So again, it's going to be loud for just a second, but not too long. Hello, Hermouche. We are making another head tracker because we got an order. If you're watching, you want your own head tracker, there's a link to our shop, and you can buy one, and I'll make it on camera like I'm doing for this one. And I think that's kind of a fun part of the experience, seeing your project or your order go from a whole bunch of parts to a full set. But I am about to use the heat gun, so it's going to be loud for just a second. Alright, very easy. So that's all on there. And the steps say, yep, that's correct, red to left, heat shrink, and then screw it into the board. So we're moving right along with this. I'm getting another warning. What is that warning? Stream is current bitrate slow, right? I don't think. But let me know if it looks a lot worse than it did. I can try to change some settings around, but I don't know if that's just YouTube complaining about something. Okay, screw this into the board. There we go. Let's see if I can screw this one in by hand. Oh, but speaking of streaming more, the plane that I want to work on, I haven't flown in a while, is a Timber X. And now we flew it a long time ago, and I forget if we ever posted the maiden flight of the Timber X. I don't think we did, but I think we still have the footage, which would be hilarious, because I did not fly it very well. I didn't crash, but I took an entire soccer field to land it. Like, the whole time I was flying, and I was slowly coming down the whole way. It was a really windy day, which in hindsight shouldn't have even flown because it was so windy and a brand new plane. But I want to fly that plane for two reasons. One, it's really cool. And two, we got this 8-channel receiver that's been sitting around collecting dusts for gotta be over a year. But I can put that receiver onto the Timber X and give it full wing ailerons, which makes it super flippy, but it also has AS3X Plus, I believe, because they came out with that. And I think you can retroactively upgrade the firmware on those receivers. And so I want to live stream putting that receiver into the Timber X, setting it all up, as well as fixing like the rudder servo, because I think I broke this rudder servo off. But I want to do that all on stream because it's kind of fun. And then eventually turn that into its own video, because that's also kind of interesting for those of you who don't want to watch me ramble and stream for a while. You can just get the exact video out. But we'll keep moving on here. We have, screw that in there, tin and prep, another, that, okay, I gotta do exactly what I just did. A little bit more wire. Also, let me know if you can hear this vent, or this fume extractor. It's on its lowest setting, and it's just kind of idling. But if it's annoying and loud, I'll turn it off when I'm not using it. But other than that, I've got 1.5 inches of black, 30 gauge wire, and another 1.5 inches of red. I'm going to do what we just did and tin and prep them. Yeah, that sounds like a cool video. Thank you. Plus, I just want to fly it more because the Timber X is such like a, what's it called? A bush plane. So it can just start and stop anywhere. I've been flying, only big planes I've flown pretty much at all is the Corsair, which is really cool, and it's one of my favorite planes. But it would be nice having a plane that's more like the Evo but larger, when that's exactly what the Timber X is. So plus it can actually handle a lot more of the mods. Like, I'm not going to add gun lights to the Timber X, but if there was stuff like that I could add, like, why not? But anyways, that is stripping, and then I've got to tin and prep these wires, because these are going to be the button wires. So let's get that in there. Add a little bit more tin. Okay, I see a little more flyaways here, so I'm trying to correct those. Ooh, slats on the servo. That would be cool. That would also be an interesting thing to figure out, because... But yeah, that'd be super cool, because obviously the Evo can't handle that, but the Timber X, they got ports for slats. Or like there's slat, I'm just looking at the plane now. They've got areas for slats to go on. I'd have to buy the slats, but that would be really cool to flip a switch and then have the slats fold out. Great idea. But let's see. We've got... Oh yeah, now we need the button, and we need the top pin and the bottom pin. And I've gone over how to check to make sure that you're actually soldering to the right pin, so I'm not going to go over that now, but in short, it's pretty straightforward. Let's go here. What did I write down? Solder black to the bottom pin. Okay, so I'll get a little more of this, a little bit more of this, get a little bit of tinning there. To the top, so black's on the bottom. Is that just all hand? Yep, it is. Okay, let's turn that. Okay, and red's on the top. Okay, should be good. Okay, are these on there good? Yes, they are, and I'm going to add a tiny bit of heat shrink. Is that even going to be large enough? Yeah, it should be. So just a little bit of heat shrink. How about this for an idea of something to put up on the shop? Is a do-it-yourself head tracker kit where I 3D print all the parts. I put like all the button and the board and the parts all in just a box, and like the heat shrink and all the buttons and everything in a box, and says you can do it yourself, which would just mean it would cost less because the cost of me making it wouldn't be involved. But you get all the parts, so if you want to do it yourself, it'd be really easy. And I could even pre-configure the board so that it's got all the right firmware and everything. But if I just would send you like the ports, the heat shrink, the wire lengths, would that be something that would be, or that might be something I throw onto the shop at some point, just because then if someone wants to do it for cheaper themselves, more power to them. But yeah, okay, I need to do a little more heat shrinking, so it's going to be loud for a second. I apologize. Okay, it's always nice to see the lights kind of dim when I turn that hair dryer on. But let's just make sure that heat shrinks all the way up, and I'll let that cool off because that is hot. Solder, heat shrink, the button pins, solder. Okay, now we just have pretty much the soldering left. Well, that's what we've been doing this whole time, but soldering things to the board itself. So, soldering the jack to the board, that's on this side, and I wrote down that the jack needs, let's see, the D10 pin. I can actually prep the board before we start soldering. So, the D10 pin is, see on the back here, D10 is third from the top on this side, 1, 2, 3, so I'll give it a little, 1, 2, 3. Get that closer there so we're not smoking ourselves out. And I know the V in and the ground are on this side. Close to my fingers. Okay, just making sure these are V in and ground. Yep. So those are correct. That's correct. And I think I just need the ground because ground. What am I missing? Right? Am I missing something? D3. Oh yeah, D3. D3 is one above there, which is right here. Okay, make sure that's next to there. Ah, 0 concurrent viewers. Awesome. Alright, well that's fine. I'll just keep powering through. So what do we got next? We got to get the jack onto the board, so that's going to go this way. Jack is D10 red, D10's over there. Actually, wait, I'm going to do ground there. Okay, so we're gonna get red up top. That's gonna go there, so maybe we want to do red down there. Okay, we're going to clip this in so it stops falling. Let's get it right in the way. Good, good. Okay, and then jack needs the ground on the right side, which should be this wire to ground. Okay, and then likewise, we need ground on this. Right, because that's like that. It's all good. Go like this. Okay, and then ground or power goes here. Just backwards. One and smaller tweezers. Okay. All right, that should be in like that, and then we just need to get these red and black wires from the power all the way up here. Which is always the most fun because they have to travel not of long distance, but everything still has to fit in there. So we're on pretty close to the last step here, but this has to go up in here. This button pokes out here. Come on, button. It's like sitting right. I can see it. Well, either way, that's got to go there, but we still have to plug in or solder in these wires first. So we've got red, it's got to go up here. I wonder if it'd be easier to just unsolder this red wire and do it once they're done, because this has to go all the way up here. Maybe even the same with this black wire. Alright, now we're disconnected. So I've got to go red to here. Again, these wires are bigger, but that's because they are the power wires, so I wanted to have them as big as necessary. So I'll curve this to the left. Okay, those look like they're in. And then it's just a matter of getting it out of the way enough to solder these back on. Which now I could probably go grab that. There we go. Now we're talking. Now we got things out of the way. Get that around there. This. Solder on here. One job. Actually, maybe it did solder in. Okay, everything looks good. Now we just have this kind of mess of wires. So we've got to get the button in first. So we're going to move things out of the way, try to fit this in here. Which I don't know why I didn't want to go in there earlier, but there we go. It's in there. We can even, once it's in, we can fold these. You probably won't be able to see it, but there's wires that we soldered the button wires to. You can fold those down, get them out of the way, and then it's just a matter of, oh, that's interesting. Like this, and lightly press to make sure I'm not squishing any wires, but we got to get the back side in like that, and the top side in here. Let's see. Okay, that looks like it's in far enough, and we can verify by sliding the backing on. Just like that. We have a head tracker that's got a nice button. Make sure, what is that saying? That the bit rate, yeah, that's fine. All right, so the head tracker part looks like it is good to go. And now all we have left to do is make the goggle adapter, which does include a bit more of the soldering because it is bigger wires. But this is your head tracker, if you are watching, but it goes over here. Last step is this, which we have our adapter wires, and I'll get my goggles out to make sure it's the right length. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to fire them out now. I've just got a little bit of soldering left, but then we should be all done. Let's see, I'll get my head tracker on goggles. And let's see, I can go full screen just so you can see. Oh, awesome. That is not, we're here right now. That is not. All right, well, we'll stick it here then. But I've done this a whole bunch of times already, but I'll still just kind of show it. We've got power to the head tracker, power to the goggles, or the adapter, as well as power to the goggles themselves, and all we're doing is cutting these wires so that we have a nice clean adapter to use. So I'll cut them all about here, because I'm going to try another way of doing this and just stripping off a little more wire so the soldering is a bit easier. Again, extra wires. And I can remove all of these. And I should really just measure how long are these. So the longest wire is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 inches. Second longest is 1, 2, 3.5. Shortest is about 2 inches. So when I rewatch this, and actually I got my notes right here. When I say 7 inches, 7 inches, 3.5, 2 inches. Right, that's 3.5. 1 to 3.5. Okay. So I'm going to, this time, I'm going to strip off more wire, or like a little bit, so I can twist them together and then solder them, which will hopefully, that's too big, hopefully just make this process easier, because it was annoying in the past. Is that not the right size? Maybe not. Okay, I'll go one lower. Don't mind that. Just basically, yeah, see, I want to get a little more wire so I can kind of twist them a little bit more. So we'll see if that's the key to success on this. So I'm still going to just pull them apart. What's that? That, and lastly, we've got this. Okay, now that we've got a lot more wires stripped, or a lot more stripped wire, I should say, I'm going to tin them all up and make them look nice, but I wonder if twisting them together first would be a good call, like before I even solder them. So if I just grab these and just give them a twist to get the strands all together. I'll get the last one as well. Just so that everything is connected out of the get-go. So soldering hopefully is a little bit easier. It looks good in theory. Might as well give it a shot. Okay, so I'm just going to do it on one side just to see if it works. I'm going to dip it in. There, and then we are going to need quite a bit of solder for this. I'm going to start with just this other solder I have, and we're actually going to get this nice and close because a lot of fumes. Still see that? No, you can't. So I'll move it closer this way. Alright, move this a little lower too. So we're going to be just getting a ton of solder on here. So the goal is to just get this all nice and coated. See, it just doesn't stick as well as this does. See how that's just like a nice coating? That's what I want. This other solder I got just doesn't do the same, but whatever. But that part looks really good, and that was a lot easier than what I used to do of trying to solder them together with a little bit. So I'm going to take that off. I'm going to take all these black wires and do the exact same thing. Let's see, is that going to be, pull them apart a little bit, but you can get them all right near the end. And then twist them together. And then, of course, I'm still going to add heat shrink, but okay, those are nice and twisted, I think. Do the same thing. We're going to now hold them together. Then dip them in a little flux. Go. This in there. And I'll do the same. I'll start with this. I guess a good top coat. You can't see that at all because my hands are in the way. Smart, good play. Some more. Okay, so now I got it kind of good. I come in with this other solder, and it just melts everything together so much better. So still interested. I still got to restock this TBS solder because it's really good, but I tried to buy the other stuff, try to be cheaper with it, and that was my downfall. Okay, so now that that's all together, and that worked really well, so I'm stoked about that. And all we have left, oh yeah, we got this. We still have to take that off, but this is our wire. I'm going to add a bigger piece of heat shrink here so that we can protect these wires, but first I have to get this. Now I could just solder these directly to here, but that would just mean the power is running through smaller and then bigger wire. I don't know if that's an issue, but I'm just going to keep doing it the same way that I built my own, just so that, I don't know, I like how mine works, so I might as well make these exactly like it. Yeah, if you're watching, just feel free to fire off any questions or any comments or anything, because I'm almost done here, but I do like answering questions. If you don't have a question, I'll start talking about a plane that I want to get at some point in my life. Not necessarily right now, because I have a lot of projects I'm working on, but I do want to get a F-22 Raptor, one of those 80 probably millimeter ones from what are they, Motion RC? I think they just released an 80mm. It looks so cool. I want to get into the EDFs a little bit more, and I do have one. Gosh, this is being annoying. I got an EDF that I'm gonna fix up here. Got it from a friend in the area, which he was super nice to let me use it. But it needs a little bit of fixing, so I'm gonna do that probably on stream. But then EDFs just seem really cool, and they got a lot of power. The only downside is I need to buy a new battery. But what's that? Okay. But I want to get better at flying EDFs, and I think a Raptor would be so cool. So after I get good at this Sioux jet, which is 6S, which I've never flown on 6S either, so that's going to be part of the fun. But just one of those Raptors, they look so cool, and I really like flying American-made planes, or like the American replica planes. They just look cool. We got a F-15 Eagle, obviously American. We got the Corsair, got a Mustang, all aggressively American planes, which I really like. So the Raptor would fit right in with that American scheme. But the only downside is I looked, and Raptors don't have machine guns. They just weren't that helpful. They do have cannons, but no machine guns. And whatever plane I get, I want to throw on minimum a head tracker, because it already has a flap and gear, so I don't need to do that, which I'm stoked about. But I do like the gun lights of the Corsair. Like, that's just such a cool little thing to add. So I could add cannon lights to the Raptor, and I'm talking as if I own this plane. I do not, and it's not even anywhere on the horizon, but just, you know, things that would be cool. It'd be real cool if this wire would just let go. There we go. But those planes, the Raptor, just looks cool. It's got a clear canopy, and so I could put a head tracker, probably a DJI or a digital head tracker, because they are better, plane's bigger, so, or, you know, more expensive. I like it, be more confident with a nicer head tracker. But it just, I'm smoking myself out. It just would be so cool, but it's not quite on the radar yet. But I'd also add hopefully an ultrasonic sensor, which that tutorial should be coming soon, because I did manage to fly and I got things working with the ultrasonic sensor. So I want to add that to whatever new plane I get eventually. But again, no time soon. I've got to get quite a large chunk of heat shrink here, because these wires are triple soldered together, so they get really thick. But if I take this and then I take a needle nose pliers and I can just expand this out a little bit, not a whole lot, but just enough. There we go. And it'll still shrink just fine. I just need to get it over these parts here. So as you can see, this needs to go here, but also as far back as I can, so it doesn't accidentally get shrunk when I'm heating it on. We go here. Let's see, red's on the outside, so I can go here, and I obviously didn't put any heat shrink on the red side. But we're gonna go like that. Hopefully this is a pretty easy solder, thanks to all this new ideas we had. Let's see, can I get that here? Or maybe I'll just hold it. So it's gotta go like this anyways. So red's on the outside, black's on the inside. So I'm just gonna apply some heat. Heat up this, as well as this. I do want to maybe get tweezers. Now, I do remember this taking some good amount of heat and a good amount of patience, because these are thick wires getting soldered on, and so I want to make sure the connection's really good, just for, I guess, safety purposes. But in the meantime, gotta get this, and maybe we can throw some more tin flux in there. Get this down too. There we go. That's what I was looking for. The whole thing to just melt down, because these wires are already together. So as you can see, they just melted on top. I say melted, they soldered, which is exactly what I'm trying to do, but they just went straight down. I can put this on top of there and heat shrink that down. So that looks really nice. So going forward, wait, hang on. I think I did this backwards. Ground's on the outside. That's annoying. Okay, well, if you're following along, make sure you put ground as the outside pin. That's how it always is. So glad I caught that there. I didn't just ship out something that was wildly not going to work. But I fixed it, don't worry. So what did I do that worked? I added more heat and flux to this before we even got started, just to warm things up a bit. And then I just put this on here. Okay. There. So it was still super easy, even with a little fix. But now all we have left to do is solder on this hot, God, believe it or not, adding a lot of heat to a very small piece of metal makes it hot. Which is what I learned from putting my fingers on that. But nevertheless, we will keep going. So I'm going to add a little bit more solder here. Okay, and this should then go hopefully as smooth as it did on the wrong port, but this time it'll just be on the right port. Okay, I saw it flow for a second. That's why I took the heat off, because I don't want it to melt too much. Oh, okay, yeah, that looks really good. I'm not going to touch it yet, but as you can see, it's just all melted onto those two tabs, and they are kind of close, which is why I have the heat shrink. And all I have to do is push those over, heat shrink them down. Then I'm going to add one piece of heat shrink over this whole part so it looks nice and clean. Then we should be pretty much good to go. I think we are done with soldering. So I put that away. I can turn this fan off, so now it's going to be a bit quieter, but all right, I'm going to heat shrink, and then we can wrap it up here. And then just one big piece of heat shrink. Let's see, it doesn't need to be that long. I'm going to cut it in half. But this last one is just to make everything look nicer, because we already have all the wires covered, but we're going to have to stretch it a little bit to get it over the lip of this female port. Just a little bit of stretching to fit this, a little bit more. Another warning, what is it, a bitrate issue? Yeah, whatever that means. Let me know if it looks bad, but I think I'll just keep charging. There's probably a great, or an easy fix to the little bitrate issue, but up until then. There we go. Okay, I'm just gonna heat shrink this. Okay, I think we are just about, I'm not going to touch that too long because that is, believe it or not, hot. But I think we've got our adapter wire all built. We've got our head tracker built. All I'm going to do is test it a bit on my end to make sure everything's looking good, but I think we should be good to go. So I'm going to do, let's see, is the full desk? Yeah, still not working. I don't know why that is. Let's see. I'll go back to here for a second, see if I can get this camera. Should be working. It's still on. Full desk. Sorry, see if I can get that for whatever reason. Let's see if I change. I have no idea why that's not, or the top camera isn't working, because on the phone that's using it shows that it's working. Camera, allow, start. It's because I want to wrap up. I like doing that with the top. Full desk. Okay, well, great. It's a little off kilter. Wow. Sorry for all the shakiness. But okay, we're back to having a top view. But that's pretty much it. We've got, if your order is order 1004, it's done. It's just has to be tested, which I'll do off cameras to make sure everything's working right, because that needs the computer with the Windows, and I can't do that while streaming. But that is pretty much it. I'm going to, let's see, I'm just going to be cleaning up my desk here. So if you have any more questions, fire away. They can be RC related, they can be not RC related, whatever you want. Well, let's maybe keep it RC related, but either way. I'm going to be cleaning up my desk here. Thank you so much for watching. If you've stuck around for the long time, I've just been putting together a little head tracker action here, which is always fun. And I like ending these streams with a clean desk, because I normally don't, and that just means it never gets cleaned. So yeah, feel free to fire some questions at me, or if you don't have any, we can wrap up this stream. It's also a speed run. What did that take? A little over an hour? Maybe just about an hour? Usually it takes about 2 hours, which I think is thanks to this 30 gauge wire instead of the 22 gauge, which makes everything fit a lot better. It just makes the whole process a lot easier. Yeah. If you want a head tracker yourself, you want to buy one, our shop is in the description of this stream. Where you can either buy the whole head tracker, which we will build on stream, or if you just want to get the parts themselves, you can download them on Thingiverse for free. Or if you don't have a 3D printer, it's just all available on our shop, trying to make it as accessible and as easy to use for everybody, just because we've been there and not had the ability to make these cool mods, and you're just kind of left out. So we want to make sure that nobody's left out, because it's really fun. It's really cool. So yeah, let's see, head there. This in pocket. I will clean up a little bit more. But looks like we don't have any questions. Totally okay, but we do have a lot of residue. All right. I think that is just about all we got to do today. So without any further ado, thank you so much for watching. This has been Inverted Aviators RC. Stick around if you want to see more videos about the head tracker, about more fun planes, or more streams of doing stuff. But for those of you who have been around and been watching this whole time, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. But see you guys next time.